Did you know that 80% of Americans have debt and they're completely using it wrong? I was shocked when I discovered that too. After paying off over $4,000 in 90 days, I realized why this number was so high. Here's the thing. Everyone keeps teaching you to build your credit, build your credit, build your credit, but they're not actually telling you the whole truth. In fact, I tested this myself and went from being in debt to becoming debt-free. The real secret is actually the opposite of what people are actually teaching. Today, I'm going to reveal the 4 major lies you've been told about debt, plus show you actually what to do instead. And stick around to the end because I'm also going to share the truth that changed everything for me. So you've been told to build your credit for so many years, and now you think it's the truth. But in actuality, it's a lie. So the first lie, in my opinion, I believe you've been told about debt is that debt is good. I've heard it's good debt and bad debt. In my opinion, all debt is bad. Why is it bad? Well, when my wife and I were in debt, we argued about money. In fact, we argued about debt because debt is a thief, in my opinion. And we had paid our debt before and then we went back into debt. But this time it wasn't my fault. First time it wasn't my fault either. But when you get married to someone with debt, the debt becomes not her debt or his debt. It becomes y'all's debt. I was tired of being in debt. That began the argument multiple times. And the last time we just decided to, it's time. According to the American Psychological Association, money is a stressor. And if you got a ton of debt and you feel like, man, debt is good, it's a lie. Tell it to the people who are drowning in debt or who are struggling to pay credit card bills or have a mortgage that is way more than they can afford. Is that good debt? Or think about someone who's going to borrow money to invest in real estate, get out of properties. Well, if they have all these properties or units and have no one in the property renting that out, what I mean by they have a piece of property, say a real estate, and they're renting out, say a home, and they got 40 or 50 properties, and no one's in those rentals. You want to be the devil's advocate. You can't get someone to rent those properties from you. Who's going to pay that mortgage every month? You are. So they don't tell you that when they tell you to go get money and borrow and leverage and go get some properties and rent them out. They'll talk about the repairs, the maintenance, the insurance. They'll tell you all those things that you have to do when you have a piece of property. And if you have multiple properties and you don't have a tenant, you're going to pay the mortgage. That property isn't yours technically until you pay the mortgage off. But most times people tell you to go leverage, build your credit so that you can have a good life by having rental property, having cash flow. That's good to have cash flow, but if you have cash flow in addition to a mortgage or debt, that's crazy. It's not good debt. I don't care what people say. There's no good debt. Whether you're a billionaire or a millionaire, I don't care if you can afford to have the debt. But if you can afford the debt, the property or whatever you're buying, why would you need to borrow? Just to say you got an interest rate that you can deduct, say for business, that's true, but when you borrow money and you pay interest, the interest is a penalty to you because you're using someone else's money, i.e. OPM, other people's money. So there's no good debt. And that's one of the lies that you've been told and you're believing too. The second one is you need a credit score to buy a home. So if people tell you to go open a credit card to pay gas or get groceries and you build credit over time. I had a relative of mine say he wanted to do the same thing because he wanted to get a home. I understand that logic because he didn't have any rental history. But going into debt just to build your credit to own a home is insanity. The process is called manual underwriting. So when you go apply for a loan, basically go through an application, you approve a loan, and you go to get a property, right? You go get a home. So you go to the bank, look at your tax returns, bank statements, make sure you have good income that you can pay the loan back. And basically that's what the lender, the bank, is looking to see if you can repay the mortgage, repay the loan that you're getting on the house because you don't have a ton of money setting aside to purchase a house with cash. So you go in debt to buy a house, and they want to make sure you can pay it back. That's why they do look at your tax returns, see how much income you have for the past 2 or 3 years, so you have good income to be able to afford the mortgage. And they'll look at your debt equity ratio, make sure you got too much debt so that you won't be overburdened with a mortgage. repaying the debt that it is. And look at, again, your credit score, and look at your FICO score, and look at your credit report to see that you have borrowed money and paid it back. That's simply what they're doing. Make sure you can get the loan and pay it back over time. The other option is to do manual underwriting, where they don't use a credit score. They, meaning the lenders, they use their mind. They think, well, do you have good rental history? If you don't have a credit score, have you rented a home or an apartment for a period of time? Have you paid that rent on time? Do you have a cell phone or a mobile phone? Or do you have car insurance? They look at things that you've paid, bills, utilities, income that you've had, as your credit. Is called non-traditional credit. If you work a job consistently, paid your bills on time, or your rent, if you have a rent payment as you made to your apartment complex or to the owner of that home that you're renting, that's called credit. But it's something that people don't talk about. It's like a taboo topic because people may know about it. And actually, some banks probably offer it. A lot of banks probably offer it, but they don't offer it as one of the first options. They want you to go get your credit score, get your FICO score up so you can borrow to the maximum limit so they can get paid through interest. So the way to buy a home is to use manual underwriting. Check it out. The third lie is that you can build wealth with credit, with debt. You can borrow money, start a business, get a piece of property. You can borrow money even to buy investments, which is crazy. But one guy said he recommended people to borrow against their investments. I'm like, all right, that's an option to build wealth where you borrow money against your investments. That's a thing, I guess. But again, people think you can build wealth by borrowing money. You can, but think about it. If you were to retire, you still got a mortgage. You want to enjoy life, you got mortgage payments from your home, you got rental properties, all have mortgages on them. You have people in the property, so you have people paying your mortgage per se, but why would you want to have debt in retirement? Doesn't it negate the whole point of you working hard so you can enjoy your life when you do retire? You don't want to have debt payments when you retire. You want to have payments to yourself. You want to get money from your 401k, from your Roth IRA that you've worked hard for and has built over time. You want to get payments from your tenants with paid for with cash, rental properties, not a property that's leveraged with debt. You get the money from your tenant, and then what? You pay it right to the mortgage company. You do that for 30 years of your life. Why? Just to say you have a piece of property, or just to say that you are building wealth? One guy saw online, said he had bought a piece of property at 40 units, 40 units. And he said that he was broke. You know, people told him to go leverage up, borrow money to get these properties, or this property with 40 units. He talked about how he had to pay for repairs when tenants were in there, or they left when they moved out. And I'm like, people don't talk about that. They talk about all the glitz and glamour of leveraging up, get property. And I understand that you want to help people earn passive income. That's a great thing. But when you talk about borrowing money in addition to getting cash flow, it's like the debt it outweighs getting cash flow. In my opinion, if you're going to stay in debt for 30 years for cash flow, I'm like, bruh, sis, that ain't the play. The play is to get a piece of property if you can, get your income up so high that you can save up money to buy the property with cash. If you ever played the game Monopoly without taking money from the bank, I'm going to use that because the bank doesn't give you credit during the game. It gives you money. And there's no interest rates during the game that I'm aware of, but you play the game Monopoly using cash and money, and you do what? You buy properties. You buy hotels, buy estates. You do all this with cash. So imagine if you did that in real life. You get your income up so high that you can buy properties with cash and not have to worry about getting debt. And then you can really build wealth the right way. So which leads to my fourth point. The fourth lie people believe is people believe that you have to travel with a credit card. You can't use a debit card. It's a lie. When I was an auditor, I traveled around the country auditing collection agencies, and I used my personal credit card for travel. Hotel, rent a car, airfare, food, gas. And then I would submit an expense report with my receipts to my employer when I got back to my job, got back home. And I was reimbursed for my travel, for my job. But I realized that you can also travel with cash and a debit card. I rented cars with a debit card. I rented hotels with a debit card as well. And when I got to a point where I used cash, I did the same thing with my job for a period of time. I would use cash for my travel. I had the money set aside in my account. Just pay the money. I'm going to, again, pay it back anyway, so why just have the money set aside, pay my travel, and then get reimbursed. That simple. This is the bonus one here. In my opinion, cash crushes credit. Here's why. If I'm borrowing money for a home, a car, student loans, a boat, a phone, whatever it may be, whatever I can buy, physically, credit is king. With debt or money, I'm gonna buy it. A camera for my business, whatever, microphone, I'm gonna leverage, right? I'm gonna borrow money. But the thing is, how do you repay that debt? With cash money, people, whether it be physical money or digital currency through your bank account. Like, you pay it back with money, people. And people don't realize that. It's like, oh, let me go borrow this money and pay it back with money. It don't make sense. It's like you chasing your tail. You borrowing somebody else's money, paying back more than you borrow, principal plus interest. Interest is the penalty for borrowing somebody else's money because you got the money. But cash rules and credit sucks. It sucks the life out of you. You and your wife or your boyfriend are fighting over money or fighting over debt. Who's debt? Who's gonna pay the debt? It's causing tension between you and your spouse. It's keeping you up at night and working long hours. You gotta say, I hate my job. I need to work to pay my debt off. I got a 30-year mortgage, and one guy said he wanna have a 50-year mortgage. That's insanity. We're drowning in debt as a nation. We're believing that debt is good. You gotta get a credit score to buy a house. The truth is, cash is king. Cash rules. It crushes credit because you pay it back with cash money. That simple. But people believe that you have to borrow money to live a life. You don't have to borrow money to live a life that you want. It's all about choices, people. You choose to borrow money. You choose to believe the lies of borrow money is the way to live. It's the only way to live. If you have that mentality, it will be the only way to live. But you have a choice to make. And the choice is to continue to borrow money like everybody else. Like I said earlier in the beginning, 80% of people have debt in America. We're drowning in debt. Think it's good. And debt is not good. It's not your friend. It's a foe. If you believe debt is your friend, you'll stay in it. It's like being in a relationship with a bad boyfriend. If you're a lady watching this, or maybe even a bad girlfriend. I'm going to use a bad boyfriend. He's not treating you well, but you go back to him every time. Same thing with debt. It's not treating you well because you pay back more than you borrow. I don't care if you pay it back on time or early or every month. The whole point is you're borrowing money, someone else's money, just for some air miles, points, and I'm like, for what? I remember having a credit card travel for my employer, and I had saved up so many points just for an iPod Shuffle that I could have paid cash money for. So I was so confused. I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I could have just bought the thing with cash, but I was caught in the mentality of I'm going to get these points in order to get the iPod Shuffle. Yeah, I know I'm dating myself, but the whole point is I'm like, bruh, that's so stupid. Like, why would you spend all this money going into debt for something you could pay cash for? And what changed everything was that mentality right there. Realizing that I can pay money for something opposed to going into debt. It's a mindset shift. Until you have that mindset shift, debt will be your friend, and you'll stay in debt for the rest of your life. Until you make a decision to get out of debt, you'll be in debt, struggling, broke, wondering why you can't move ahead, wondering why you live from check to check. So I implore you today to get out of debt. Get out of debt for life. Once you get out of debt, it feels so good. And if you don't like being in debt, go back into debt. Stay leveraged. Stay using OPM. Stay paying high interest rates. Stay doing the points in the travel miles. Stay doing all the things that you're struggling, that's holding you back from moving forward and become who God created you to become. I hope to see you in the next video. See you then.